Love Your Work, and I'm David Cadavy. I've spent the past 10 years building my life and work around what I love, and on this show, I share what I'm learning along the way. The past several years, I've been really fascinated with optimizing creative output. It all started when I wrote my first book, Designed for Hackers. I had been creative on command working as a professional designer, but when it came time to write a book, it was harder than ever. Since then, I've noticed that if I arrange my life and work according to mental states, I can be sure that I do my most important creative work during my peak creative time. I can then arrange the rest of my life and work to serve that peak creative output. Here's the article. Arrange your time and tasks according to these 7 categories, and you'll be a creativity machine. Art is hard. Creative insights are hard to predict, and just when it gets difficult, your mind immediately jumps to a distraction, something easier to do, an excuse, a scapegoat. To get the most out of your creative energy, carve out space for creative work. To make that space, you need to make space for other types of work too. The key to this is understanding how creative insights happen. The 4 stages of control that build creative insights. In 1891, German scientist Hermann von Helmholtz, whose accomplishments included inventing the ophthalmoscope, was honored with a party for his 70th birthday. He got up to make a speech and shared how he achieved his creative insights. Quote, "Often ideas arrived suddenly without any effort on my part, like an inspiration. They never came to a fatigued brain and never at the writing desk. It was always necessary, first of all, that I should have turned my problem over on all sides to such an extent that I had all its angles and complexities in my head. Then there must come an hour of complete physical freshness and quiet well-being before the good ideas arrived. Often they were there in the morning when I first awoke, but they liked especially to make their appearance while I was taking an easy walk over wooded hills in sunny weather." Unquote. 35 years later, social psychologist Graham Walls cited Helmholtz's speech and proposed 4 stages of control: preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification. During preparation, you're learning everything you can about the problem, or as Helmholtz would say, you've turned the problem over on all sides so that everything about it is in your head. During incubation, you're allowing your unconscious mind to work on the problem. It happens while you're taking an easy walk over wooded hills or while you're sleeping, whatever you do to achieve complete physical freshness and well-being. When illumination happens, the solution comes to you. As Helmholtz said, it doesn't tend to happen while you're sitting at your desk. It might be when you've just woken up. During verification, you ensure that the idea meets up to your standards. Does it solve the problems you identified during the preparation stage? These 4 stages have been cited in thousands of research papers on creativity. As neuroscientists Mark Beeman and John Cunios wrote in their book, The Eureka Factor, Helmholtz's observations still stand up more than 120 years later. The unconscious mind incubates the information collected and finds connections that lead to illumination. The creative mistake most people make. The mistake most people make when trying to do creative work is they don't work according to the stages of thought that lead to creative insights. We sit down and try to write a blog post or a novel, or just daydream about starting a YouTube channel, but then we just get overwhelmed. There's always a distraction within reach. It's more satisfying in the short term to check our email or sit on the couch and watch Netflix. But if you work with these stages, creative insights can come more easily with less discomfort. You can work with the ebbs and flows of your creative energy so that you work like a perpetual motion machine, each action feeding the next and your energy being replenished before it's drained. The 7 categories of creative work. If you arrange your creative work according to these 7 categories, you can ease creative insights through the 4 stages of control. You can avoid getting blocked and avoid getting distracted or burnt out. The 7 stages are prioritize, generate, explore, research, recharge, polish, and administrate. Prioritize. To have the space for creative work, you need to have a clear picture of what you're doing in any given moment. The clearer your priorities, the more focused you can be on the task at hand. The getting things done system can keep distractions out of your head and in a trusted system. A weekly review, also a GTD concept, can help you feel in control. Maintaining creative habits helps clear space too, because they take away uncertainty about what you should be doing while you're carrying out your habit. When you prioritize, you clear mental space to generate. Generate. Many people ascribe mystical properties to creative ideas. They think a muse floats down from the heavens and whispers in their ear. Believe it if you want, but it's still nonsense that can get in the way of having control over your creative process. Great insights certainly come randomly, so this is why you need to roll the dice as many times as possible. Build a creative habit. Make a daily deliverable, whether it's 100 words a day, a 30-second song, or a new twist on a Negroni. When you generate, you give a chance for all the other pieces of creative preparation to come together. Explore. There's a special power in curiosity. It can fuel you to work harder. It can take you to uncharted territory, and following your curiosity can replenish your creative energy. Take the time to explore things you're curious about, because they can collide with other things to make explosive ideas. When you explore, you collect the raw materials for the insights you'll have when you generate. Research. To solve a creative problem, you have to learn whatever you can about that problem. When you research a problem before you generate, you set the context for solving the problem. When you research after you generate, you answer the questions you encountered while trying to solve the problem. Recharge. You've heard about 10,000 hours to mastery, but you haven't heard about the 12,500 hours of rest you need too. When you rest, you allow your unconscious mind to work on your creative problems. You also refuel your energy to prioritize clearly and generate smoothly. Polish. A great idea won't work if you don't execute it well. You need to make sure that bold skyscraper design won't collapse, and your novel better not have too many misspellings. When you polish, the crusty rocks you mined when generating transform into gleaming gems. Administrate. Real artists don't starve, but most of us can't afford servants to keep our lives and businesses running while we focus on our craft. There are bills to pay, invoices to send, and light bulbs to change. When you administrate, you make it all work, so you can keep doing what you're doing. The 3 stages to becoming a perpetual creativity machine. In a perfect world, you'd know exactly what time of day and exactly what time of week your energy is ideal for each of these 7 categories of creative work. By focusing on one category at a time, you would keep yourself from procrastinating. You could write a rough draft of your novel, or generate, confident you'd eventually get the dialogue right for 1890s England, which you would later research. You wouldn't get distracted when you suddenly remembered that you were almost out of hand soap, because you'd know you'd get it taken care of at another time, or administrate. In reality, implementing these categories is an ongoing process. Start by protecting a tiny bit of time to generate. Then, as that crack grows, arrange the other pieces in your life and work to serve the best use of your creative energy. 3 steps to this. 1. Build a tiny creative habit first. 2. Take time to prioritize. 3. Rest with a purpose. Build a tiny creative habit first. Find the time of day when you have your best creative energy. Surprisingly, it may be when you're groggy. Make your daily deliverable so small you can't stand to fail. Take the time to prioritize. Once you've established a habit, dedicate an hour a week to a weekly review. Clear mental energy to make your art. Then, rest with a purpose. Once you've started practicing prioritization, establish times during your day and your week when you'll do something that recharges you. Write yourself a prescription if you have to. Disconnect from creative problems and let your unconscious work on them. Take sleep seriously. Once you've grown through these stages, the creative habit, taking time to prioritize, and resting with a purpose, other elements should start falling into place. You'll get a feel for when your energy is right for researching or polishing, and you'll establish a system for keeping administrative details from interfering with your best work. With enough practice, you'll fall into your ideal week, and you'll be able to boost your creative output without burning out or getting off track from distractions. Doing creative work can feel like banging your head against solid stone, but if you manage your energy for persistence and recognize the stages of creative insights, you can find the rhythm that will carve a tiny crack of creativity into something as large as the Grand Canyon. I hope that article has you thinking about the mental states that make up your creative work. For more on making the most out of your creative peaks, check out Dan Ariely on episode 51.
If you think that you have 2 hours of productive hours a day, and on each of those hours you can produce 2.5 times to 3 times more than on these hours after lunch, every minute you waste of those 2 hours is a waste.
Again, Dan is on episode 51. And as you heard in the article, getting rest is critical to doing great creative work. For more on the neuroscience of creativity, check out neuroscientist John Cunios on episode 8.
Sleep is not doing nothing. Sleep is mental work. Sleep is creative work. Your brain is churning over memories. It's clearing out the mental cobwebs. It's generating ideas. Sleep is itself work. So if a person's trying to solve a problem and they take a nap to sleep on it, that's not working on the problem. That is working on the problem.
Again, John Cunios is on episode 8. Is Love Your Work helping you crack the code on fulfilling work? If so, I could really use your help. For the show to continue and to continue being free for everyone, it needs your support. One way you can help is to subscribe. Subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Apple Podcast ratings help too. Just go to cadavy.net/Apple, click on Write a Review, and click on the star rating. You don't even have to write a review. It just takes a couple of seconds. You can also join Love Your Work Elite, hosted on Patreon. You could call it a donation, but it's really much more than that. You'll get your own personal RSS feed with early access to episodes and bonus content. You'll also get a discount on Love Your Work merchandise. Learn more at lywelite.com. Love Your Work is brought to you in part by top Love Your Work Elite members such as Arif Akhtar and Ed Stanfield of startwithclarity.com. This has been Love Your Work, and I'm David Cadavy. The theme music for the show is At Sea by Durena from the album About Everything and More by arrangement with Deep Elm Records at deepelm.com. Love Your Work is a production of Cadavy, Inc.